Josh, welcome to the AP Pro Football Podcast. Great to have you on, man. And I covered part of your career, followed your entire career. Now you have your own podcast that you're doing. It's called Scheme. It's part of the Underdog Fantasy Content Network. I know a new episode drops each Thursday. So tell me a little bit about that, what you're doing, what you like about it, and how you got involved.
Yeah, so obviously, underdog fantasy is its own thing, and if you love fantasy sports and if you play it, which it seems like the whole world does, because there's not a year that I didn't play that somebody didn't tell me, "Hey, man, you really helped me out in fantasy this year," or more often, "You really killed me in fantasy this year." But at any rate, that portion of that, the whole, as you said, the network, they want to bring football content to their subscribers. And so we started a podcast called Scheme. Josh Norris hosts it along with myself. And we just take a look at things around the league. This first probably 5 or 6 episodes, the focus has really been on quarterback play because that's my area of expertise. And we just take a deep dive into why these guys are playing the way they're playing, some of the nuances of the position, some of the nuances of the schemes that we're seeing applied. And it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it. I think, for me, I love being around the game. I love watching tape anyway. And to be able to share that with other people, to kind of give them a better perspective of what's happening so that we can truly respect every player, and especially these quarterbacks nowadays. I'm really enjoying that.
And fans can find the podcast on YouTube. I know it's also available wherever podcasts are found. Now, you said deep dive into footballs, in X's and O's. Josh, do you have to balance, though, how much terminology, like insider knowledge, that you use with terms that people can understand, or make it so the average viewer, the average listener can get it?
Yeah, Rob, that's a great question. I do, but I'm going to give that to you because I think that's what the fans are coming for. They want to hear that. They want to hear, 18 years and a different offensive coordinator for 18 straight years. They want to hear all those different things, and I share those insights. I've got a stack of playbooks, from all over, and so it's fun to see plays, and as we watch this season unfold. Josh and I'll be talking in the discourse, and I'll tell him, like, hey, this is a play that was popular when I came into the league, and then it kind of went away because the defense kind of figures it out, and then the play comes back and it's popular again. So you see all these different things that happen throughout the course of my career and over the last 20 years. And so I try to give the fans a window into that. And like I said, it's fun to watch Jalen Hurts or Justin Fields or Tua Tagovailoa, we broke down yesterday. It's fun to watch those guys, right? But if somebody can give you an insight of what their mind is thinking about while they're standing at the line of scrimmage, when they receive the football, I call them hurdles in the brain, the different hurdles that they're jumping in the brain, and decisions that they're making, at a fast pace, just to give you perspective of how we can appreciate these guys, these great athletes that are also, high-level executives, high-level decision makers, for 65, 70 plays a game every weekend. So that's the idea of it. So we do try to balance it so that, we're not over your head where you can't understand it. But I think it's where the real fan wants to come and go, tell me a little bit more about, more than I'm just getting maybe that I tune in on TV and I see on Sunday afternoon, because there's, the color guys can only give so much. But we can kind of take it a little bit deeper. And so hopefully it gives them that.
I'm one of those guys who appreciates that really deep dive, that terminology, that lingo understanding. So I applaud you for doing that and wanting to do that, because it really helps. It benefits people, as you're learning, as you're watching. It gives you an education into the game. You mentioned something there that I didn't even realize, man. 18 years, 18 different offensive coordinators. You didn't have any stability year to year?
No. Well, I changed offensive coordinators every year of my career since I was a junior in high school.
Wow.
So I did get to have Mike Martz twice, and there's Detroit. I had him in Detroit, and then I had him in Chicago. So I had him twice. So there was some overlap there, but he's the only guy that I had for two different times, but never anybody two years in a row. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff bouncing around in here, a lot of lines and things going on, and this team calls it this, and it's the same exact play, and that's what we really go into is you would be surprised at how many people have the same stuff in their playbook. They just call it different. And then it gets into really, how do they detail that play out? How do they approach that play? What is the quarterback being told on that play? How they think about that play. So sometimes it's like, hey, we're this receiver's number one on this play, and with a different coaching staff and a totally different offense, it's like, well, we don't ever look at that guy. And those two things can be true and valid. It's just, everybody's opinion and kind of the talent and the makeup of the roster. So we try to share some of those things on the show.
Well, that's 18 different offenses that you had to learn. As I'm talking to you, I'm looking behind you. I see all the jerseys. You played for like nearly the entire league. I know it's like 10 or 11, but that's a lot of knowledge. That's a lot of education, which leads me to this, Josh. You've had a couple opportunities to interview for the Houston Texans head coaching position. It would seem to me, with someone who has been experienced the way you have, like you're going to bring a lot to the table. What was your experience like in those interviews, and what are your future aspirations?
Yeah, I think maybe one day I'll be into coaching. I'm coaching high school ball right now. I had two sons that were, at the end of high school. So one was a senior last year, and then just currently had a senior this year, and was able to coach both those guys through, and had a blast doing that. And that was my focus. But maybe pro coaching is in the future. We'll see. Certainly, the opportunity to meet with and discuss that with the Texans was interesting and special, and I learned a lot. And the opportunity to just so much respect for the head coaching position that you need to at least go visit with those people and learn and see what it's about. But ultimately, it didn't work out, and I'm kind of thankful that I was able to spend this last season with my son, and then we'll see what the future holds. I as you can see with the jerseys, man, the old saying, we plan and God laughs, I think is very applicable to our life. And so maybe one of these days, find myself coaching in the league somewhere. I love the NFL. I don't hide that. I love, enjoyed my career, the different stops. As you said, I've had so many experiences of what to do, a lot of what not to do. And so, just want to, maybe bring that to a team one day and be able to help a team. And, it doesn't matter where, whatever position, whatever I can coach, it's just, I love being part of teams and being part of a group. And you start out with that group and you say, okay, let's go try to do something special, and let's create a process, and let's get better at that process. And so I really enjoy that. And so whether it's at the high school level or college, I don't really care. And I don't really care what the position is. I just enjoy being part of teams. And so, hopefully that's in the future someday.
So you would definitely be interested in say, a coordinator role or quarterback's coach position or something along those lines too, as well.
Oh yeah, I'm not picky. Like I said, man, like it's such a privilege, especially in the NFL. Like it is such a privilege to get to walk into the building. Rob, I spent my first probably 8 or 9 years in the league, not really wanting for a job, always free agency hitting and getting a chance to play somewhere. And then I was out of the league in 2010, spent a year in the UFL. And so when you go through that and then you get back in, to me, I could just remember when I got back in, I was with the Bears, and I can remember, grabbing that handle at Hallis Hall and walking to that facility and just feeling a sense of gratitude of just going, you know what, like, I don't want to take this for granted. I don't want to take this. And I really thought, like, I might get cut this day, and I might get cut this day. And then, thankfully I lasted whatever it was, 8 or 9 more years. But I experienced the back half of my career different than I did the front half, of just with a great sense of gratitude for the privilege it is to play in the National Football League. And so that's where my heart is. Like, it really, I just love being a part of teams. And one of those 32, they're all special. They're all unique. There's unbelievable people in those buildings. And so if that's where the plan leads me one of these days, then I'll be thankful for that. Right now, I'll do the best I can coaching high school football, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Josh, just how difficult is it to go from team to team? Obviously there's great parts to it, more relationships, you get to know different people, learn different schemes, but for a family guy to have to leave and to go from city to city and all of that movement, just how difficult is that? I think it's something that fans may overlook. You look at football players, it's a glamorous lifestyle, you're making all this money, but that's the real life stuff that you got to deal with.
No doubt. I think my career probably resonates more with coaches than it does players because coaches are transitioning, every few years a lot more, and so that was kind of my experience. You get into this thing and you wish, and I was hoping like I would stay with the Arizona Cardinals for 15 years and be the franchise quarterback, and that was my goal, but it didn't work out that way, and the plan changed, and then we had to adapt, and you're right. It's not easy. I mean, I credit my wife so much for, holding down the fort, especially the back half of my career where it was really changing. I was on a series of 1-year deals. And so it was hard to move my daughter who was in high school. We weren't going to move her. So we kind of established a home base there in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I kept going and traveling to these teams. So you're exactly right. But again, it's part of this business. It's part of, what we deal with. It's what we sign up for. And I understand that. And so if anything, I think, it's rounded out, not only myself, but my family, just learning to adapt. And I'm just thankful, just the number of guys that I've been exposed to, that I got to be around, great people in all these facilities, both men and women. And we laugh, everybody kind of, especially when I do the show, they laugh about the jerseys and give me a hard time. And I'm like, a lot of guys like to put their teammates up or whatever. And I say, I ain't got a house big enough for all the guys that I've played with because, I want to put them all up on the wall. So we kind of do it like that as a memento to all the different stops we've made. And we can sit there and think about, this person on that team and the great relationship we had on this team. So yeah, it is tough, but I still would frame it as a privilege to be able to get to, walk that journey.
Is there a city, a fan base that sticks out to you that,
oh man,
of all those things?
I think I would say when I was in Chicago, it was really special, and in those Midwest and the Northeast cities. So once I was in Chicago, felt it in Detroit a little bit in that stop, but we were kind of down at that time, weren't very good, and but Chicago, man, that was special. Then going to Cleveland, they love, they're passionate about that team. The Jets and then the Eagles, like those cities to me, that's what pro football is about. And it's really special in those cities, and they really, really care about their team. And, for me, like to play my last game in Philly and to feel the passion of that city and to get to experience that, that organization was awesome. And so it'd be hard pressed to choose one of them. But I would say that the cultures of those cities made it special for sure.
That last game we didn't even know at the time, nobody could, but you're playing with that, Carson goes down with the concussion, you come in, you tear your hamstring. Like, how you, completely off the bone, Josh? Is that what happened?
Yeah. Not good. I guess that's what happens to old guys. Yeah, it was a bummer, that happened in the middle of the game, but, it's kind of, Coach Peterson had preached it all year. So what, now what, and kind of move on mentality. And so it happened, and it was like, all right, we got to be there for the guys. And, playing a backup role that whole year and really, just more than anything, trying to be a voice and a help to Carson in that quarterback room. And you see the time that's put in, how hard Carson worked, and how hard the coaches worked. And so when something like that happens, it's like, man, I can't bail out now. Like, they're dependent on us, and wish we would have got it done. But for me, my whole career, all these different stops, a lot of them rebuilds, to be at Philly and finish kind of that last year with those guys, where it was a well-run organization. It was going the right way. They were a playoff team with Super Bowl aspirations and all that. And to get to play in that last game was special. Even though we didn't come up with the win, it was special. And kind of this playoff thing that had eluded me my whole career, I was very thankful for that.
You mentioned Carson. You were in the quarterback room with him for an entire year. I know Carson very well, and I've often said that he's the most misunderstood player in the NFL because there's so much. I mean, I'll be flat out honest. People hate him for all the wrong reasons. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It irks me. I defend him all the time. And as a teammate, Josh, you were his teammate. You were in the quarterback room with him. And every time you hear anybody say anything negative about Carson, it's always anonymous. But anytime somebody says anything positive, it's always there's their names attached to it. Jason Kelsey, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox rave about him. What did you think of Carson?
Yeah, I enjoyed working with Carson. I thought he was very, 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 very smart player. And just I had a blast that year, getting to know him. And young family, getting ready to have kids and all that stuff. And so it was fun to kind of have that year with a younger guy, and just try to help him as best I could. I think we were very proud of everybody in that quarterback room: Nate Sudfeld, Press Taylor, like how we played down the stretch. If you remember, Carson, I think played at a really high level down the stretch, completing a lot of balls and to get us into the playoffs, to put us even in that wild card game. So my experience was great. Everybody's different, but I know this: that dude came in, he worked hard, he cares a lot about the game, and he puts his best foot forward every time he steps into that building, and tries to help his team. And I know he's a little dinged up right now, and they're going through a little bit of a change, but I know he's going to be a great teammate. He's gonna help that guy, and he's gonna help his team as best he can. And that's the experience I had with him, and that's what I believe him to be. And unfortunately, sometimes in this league, you get perceptions kind of get out of hand, and things are looked at differently. But I had nothing but good things to say about Carson.
Well said, Josh. I appreciate that. And last thing for you, I know as a strong man of faith, it's obviously been a big part of your journey in the NFL, and probably had to hold you together as you go through a lot of these moments, traveling, uncertainty, not knowing where you're going to be playing next. What has it meant to you?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. It held me together, and I think that's the biggest part for me. Everybody's different, and everybody's got to find, their anchor in life and the thing that's going to center them when you're changing teams, or you're changing jobs, or life gets crazy. And that's been for me. That's where my faith has come in, and just trusting God and trusting the plan in place, and it's given me peace to be able to walk in a building and go, okay, whatever my role is, I can come here and serve, and I'm here, here for a reason, and thankful that I am here. And so yeah, you said it. I mean, it's been critically important for me in my career, to be able to sustain all the ups and downs.
That's awesome, man. Well, the podcast is Scheme. It's part of the Underdog Fantasy Content Network. A new episode drops each Thursday, and you can find it also on YouTube. Josh, I really appreciate your time, man, and wish you a ton of success and a ton of blessings.
Thank you so much, Rob. Take care, man.